Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today here at Storytime. I'm so glad that we get to take the time together to read stories, and today specifically we'll be reading a story that's already been told by Jesus here. It's from Matthew 25:14 to 30, and it talks about the parable of the talents, okay? So it says here, Jesus explains that there are a few different servants that are given different talents or really money in that day. And what are they going to do with each of them individually, and more or less the amount that they have, as well as a factor of their decision making perhaps. But I don't think that's the case. I think at the end of the day, it's the matter of the heart, and we'll see what each servant does. But it's called 8 bags of gold, the story that I have here, because that's the total of gold that's been distributed among the 30 servants or workers in a vineyard, in a field, property at the end of the day of, let's just say, yes, a property of an owner. So let's get started, everyone, and see how this story unfolds. Now, again, this is from Matthew 25. So I'm going to turn here to the first page, and I see a kingdom, a fortress, a tower of some sort here, like in the front cover here. Once there was a master well known throughout the land. He had 100 servants who were under his command. His house had many, many rooms, and no one could deny that he was rich, and there was not a thing he couldn't buy. So that's what we're seeing here, this master's house. So as I turn the page here, it starts to be color. Oh, I see what's going to happen here. It's going to be black and white, and then color, and then the next 2 pages is going to be black and white, right? So here we go. We're going to continue on the story. One day, the wealthy master had important news to tell, and so he called 3 servants with a shiny silver bell. All right, the servants started running when they heard the master's call. Until they reached the master's room, they didn't stop at all. They have arrived, as you can see here on the right page. And they found the master waiting, and they noticed at his side a massive heap of precious gold. Wow, lots of bags. Look closely. There's bags of gold next to him on his throne. Okay, and so they were tied up in bags of hide. The master cleared his throat. I've called you here today to tell you that I'm about to travel far away. Okay, and the trip will be a long one. So I think it's plain to see that someone surely has to keep these bags of gold for me. I've thought and thought for many days, and now I've hit upon the answer to my problem. You will keep them while I'm gone. He pointed to the servant who was standing first in line. Come here, he said, and you shall have your share of what is mine. I give you these 5 bags of gold to do with you as you choose. So then till I return again, these coins are yours to use. Until I return, these coins are yours to use. They got to use it. All right, it looks like. Then to the second man, he gave 2 bags of gold and said, to make good use of all this wealth, you'll have to use your head. So the first one had 5, the second one had 2. And it says here, like in a poetic or a rhyming way, you have to use your head here of what you're going to do again with these 2 bags of gold, the master had said. Now the servant who was the last in line approached the master's share. There's 1 bag left, the master said, and that will be your share. So here he is, he accepts them. They all accept it, the 5, the 2, and the 1. 5 plus 2 plus 1, here it is, 8. So let's see what happens next. The king is starting to disappeared. He's not here. Here are the 3. Now go, but don't forget, when I return, I'll want to see what faithful stewards you have been in using it for me. So they not only have to hold on to it, but they have to put it to use. As he clearly states, the servants made a bow so low their foreheads touched the floor, and then they gathered up their gold and headed for the door. The man who had 5 bags of gold went out with troubled thought, and in his mind he counted up the things that could be bought. It's such a task, I must not fail, the puzzled servant sighed. But then a plan popped into mind. That's what I'll do, he cried. So there he is. He's being very thoughtful because he knows that this is a big responsibility, and that's all his mind is thinking about right now, what to do with that. 5 bags of gold. Well, let's take a look. It says, I'll buy a store, a great big store. I'll sell so many things. Oh, I like that idea. Okay, so definitely a good investment here. It says like pots and pans and shoes and coats and silk and diamond rings, bronze camel bells and Persian rugs and candlesticks and tea. The biggest store in all the land. That's what my store will be. Okay, so this is not the details that we find in Matthew 25, but I think that equivalence of buying a store or property that where you can sell things will definitely increase the amount from the beginning here, right? Most especially if there's less cost to do that to begin with. But really, this is a great idea and it makes sense, especially if he's a businessman at heart too. So we're going to turn the page here and it says, he bought a store and people came from places all around. They came from almost every place where people could be found to buy the things they needed in this store that was so grand, for it was soon the superstore, the biggest in the land. Look, it even has camels for rent. It's called the big store, the superstore that is. You got silk, shoes, spices, soap. You've got sales here. Many people coming and buying. All right, good job. And on the other side of town where shoreline meets the sea, the man who had 2 bags of gold was happy as could be. Why? Because he has an idea as well. For many years, the servant has possessed a secret wish to be the owner of a shop for thriving trade in fish. And so a marketplace for fish was just the thing he bought, and fishermen came in to sell him all the fish they caught. Then he in turn sold all the fish to people of the land, and so his business day by day went on as he had planned. All right, the fish trading business, here he is. He's counting all costs, expenses, and also sales. We got to keep this up. Good job. And the next one here, it says, for though he never had a crowd around his little shed, his marketplace did pretty well, it truly must be said. He didn't make a fortune in his work of selling fish, but still his marketplace fulfilled his every dream and wish. So it wasn't so much the money that came out of this opportunity that he took, but all the enjoyment, all the dreams come true had a priceless value to it all. And he did make some money. He made some profit. Didn't make too much, but he did make profit. Good job. Now, ever since his master had departed on his way, the man who had 1 bag of gold had worried night and day. So he was worrying. As the Bible says, let's not worry so much, right? There's worrying that shouldn't be done, as it says, in terms of worrying about the minor details in life. But now we have to see like what's happening here with the man with the 1 bag of gold. He is worrying. It says, "Oh dear," he cried, "the gold I have is such a small amount." Okay, interesting. So he knows it's only 1 bag, but what else does he think? The coins my master gave to me take a little time to count. If I should use it, I might lose it. That would be the end. I think he trusted it to me to hide but not to spend. And so that night he took his gold and quiet as a mouse, he headed through the darkness to an old abandoned house. So he's physically taking that bag of gold to hide it. Maybe perhaps, yes, in this abandoned house. Doesn't really make too much sense in terms of just putting away an opportunity. Okay, and it says here, beneath the cellar floor, he hid the bag of gold secure. No one will ever find it here, of that I can be sure. Then up the stairs and through the door into the night he ran. That spooky house, he panted, would sure scare the bravest men. So that no one would take it, no one will see it, nothing will become of this gold, and it's a bag of gold. We're not just talking 1 gold coin, we're talking a whole bag of gold. Not being used properly, right, in this time, in this manner, in this opportunity of being able to maybe, increase the amount. Well, the master then returned to town, called his servants 3. What have you done while I was gone? I cannot wait to see. So the master's coming home. He's excited to see what they do with the money that they were given. We'll see here. he starts to uncover what has been going on. The man who had received 5 bags with pride stepped up and said, I bought a store, now I have 10 bags of gold instead right now. Yay! Then said the man who owned the shop down by the ocean shore, you gave 2 bags of gold to me, and I have gained 2 more. How wonderful, the master said, and I am pleased to tell you both that you shall have more gold because you did so well. So that gold was just the beginning of it all, and they're so happy, so much more fulfillment in the adventure of using these gold had they not gone through this, right? So here it is, the master is so joyful on this page, and as we turn to the next page, it says here, the man who had 1 bag of gold, came forward and then and told how he, to keep his treasure safe, had hidden all his gold, every single one. Beneath the ground I buried it and left it till today, okay? And then I guess he brought it up, but that is clearly not what the master had commanded. Beneath the ground I buried it, right? And here it is, the same amount as when you went away. You foolish servant, cried his Lord, as angry as could be. That you weren't brave with what you had does not go well with me. I wanted you to use it, not hide it in a hole, to do the best with what you have. That should have been your goal. Something, make something out of it, a little something. Buy something to benefit someone, buy something to increase the amount of gold that he was given, to use it to better himself, his life. Oh man, no. The sad but wiser servant knew he'd made a great mistake. The master's gold was given with a task to undertake. His job was not to hide the gift, but use as best as he could, and if he failed, the master would no doubt have understood. If he at least had tried, that is worth so much more than not trying at all. And so here he is. He's pleased with his 2 servants, but not the other one. And so as you can see here, yeah, that's it. Now here's an editor's note I'll share with you guys. You know, this is a parable of Jesus. He goes on to explain how his kingdom is really the kingdom of God, his Father. And so here it is. It tells us that God expects us to make use of what he has given us in life, or whatever it is, things, skills, talents, abilities, you know, personality, people that are around us, things that we can do. Right? So he has given each of us different gifts. Some people can do things well with their hands, some with their heads, some with their voices, some can see things others don't. All right, have a certain eye. All right, a certain perspective. Now, each of us is responsible to God for using the gifts he has from him and for using them well. In this parable, Jesus gives encouragement to those who have gifts which seem small or few in comparison with the gifts others have. The master evidently had expected something even from the man with the 1 bag of gold. So there has to be something that you could do, whatever you have, whether big or small, as it may seem here. He has deeply disappointed that the servant had not even tried. Can you help your child understand the meaning of the story? Will you help him also see and want to use the gifts God has given him and have confidence with regard to what he can do with them? That's a good question to think about as the story ends here. What can we do with the things that we have that will please God? So let us continue to think of those things that's pretty much what's going on with each and every one of us, as we are given something from the Lord. Let us use it to glorify God and to also do something with these things. These are tools that we can use, resources and knowledge and wisdom and help and encouragement and words of life and love for others that clearly need it. If we take that out of the equation, then it would be no life or any of those things that I listed. And so we need to make sure that we do something with those things, because that's a necessary task.